on one physical therapy episode, you have to go through the prescription, right? And so the more chronic it is, the longer it takes for it to start showing results. The more acute it is, usually see results quicker.
Yeah.
And that's hopefully some of those questions, some of those things can come out in the question and answers.
Okay. All right. It's on the hour. I'm going to start letting people in. So we got at least 6 people. So I'll start admitting them all. And then I'll do a quick intro and then we'll kick it off. And periodically, if you want to do a quick Q&A, then go ahead.
Yeah, it'll probably be about a 20 to 25 minute presentation.
Okay.
And then we'll open it up for questions.
Couldn't figure out how to turn the other direction. So he ended up going down in the cul-de-sac and then he got stuck.
Get everybody. All right. Hey, everybody. Let's see. I'm Brian. I'm the owner at OsteoStrong Torrance. And let's get started then. Yep, so I'm Brian, the owner of OsteoStrong Torrance, and tonight we have Mark Howard here, who has a really interesting background with sports and just with medical devices, and is a real authority on everything about CBD. And that's definitely a really hot topic right now amongst many people, just because of all the wonderful benefits that people get with CBD. But just like any product, there's, when you say CBD, there's all kinds of different products. And Mark will talk about it, why some products work and some don't, and definitely all about quality. All right, so Mark, you want to take it away?
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for being here. I hope I can provide some useful information on CBD, and specifically Bionan-X CBD. I'm the director of corporate business development at Integrated Healthcare Solutions. IHS is the manufacturing arm for our medical grade CBD. But before I jump into CBD, I want to give you a little background of why I'm here. I'm what you call a certified CBD believer, and that's a term that I made. But I had an experience in my life that actually changed my view on CBD. I was a bit of a naysayer because but now I'm a true believer. About a little over a year and a half ago, I was interviewing for a job, and a little backstory is my wife had a total joint replacement, and she prior to the surgery they did a nerve block, and unfortunately the femoral nerve block caused damage to her nerve. We didn't know it at the time, but her thigh pain persisted for a year, 2 years, 3 years following her knee surgery. Knee's fine. Long story short, it turned out that she had a damaged nerve. So we went to all kinds of clinicians to figure out what it was. She had injections. She smoked marijuana. She even used CBD oil. She had acupuncture, took all kinds of medication. Nothing worked. And the pain management doc basically said, this is something you're just going to have to live with. Well, she was taking 6 number 10 Norcos a day, which is a lot of pain pills. So she was basically an opioid addict. And her pain was still 6s to 8s on a scale of 10. She was having problems, obviously. Well, I was interviewing for this job at VQ OrthoCare, which turns out to be a sister company of IHS. And we got on the subject of the opioid crisis. And they said, you know, we just started this company called IHS. We think we have a product that you may like. They told me, I said, what is it? They said, it's a CBD. And I said, well, we've tried CBD oil and really didn't have a lot of help with that. So this is not an oil. This is different. This is a high quality product. So they gave me some samples and we started applying the cream 2 to 3 and sometimes 4 times a day to her affected area. And after about 2 weeks, she started noticing some improvement. We went back to her pain management doctor and they said, well, this is great. Let's start weaning her off the pain pills, which we went from 6 to 5 and 5 to 4 and so forth. But then she started having withdrawal symptoms, anxiety, depression, nervousness, on edge. And that's when we started the drops, the Bionan-X Serenity drops. Fast forward 4 months of that treatment, doing it every day, being persistent. She went all the way from 6s to 8s on her pain and 6 pain pills a day to 0 and 0. And she lives that way today, and she doesn't have any pain. And so that changed my belief on what this product is. And obviously I ended up working for the company. So that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm a big advocate of this specific product. And over the time, I've learned why it's different than a lot of the product on the market, a lot of the oils. And I'm going to try and help you understand why this product is different and why it works probably more consistently than some of the other products out there. I started my career as the athletic trainer at the Chargers back in the 70s. I eventually became an ortho PA where I assisted in surgery and ran a clinic and saw patients, did all that. And then I went to the business side and started working at some orthopedic device companies, Bragg, United Ortho, and BSN. And this is where I left BSN and came to IHS. And so my background's quite extensive. First half of my life is all clinical. The second half is business. So a little bit about me. So Bionan-X is what we call a medical grade CBD. We have 2 offerings now, soon to be 3, but we have a cream that comes in a 1 ounce, which is typically a 30-day supply, a 5 ounce that some of my old football players like because they lather it up for their aches and pains, and some sample packs. And this is what the Serenity Nano drops are. And those you put under your tongue or put in a beverage like water or tea or sometimes even coffee. So before we get into Bionan-X, let me talk a little bit about CBD to help put things in perspective. So CBD is, well, let me start off by saying most of you probably have heard of it unless you're living under a rock somewhere, because it's probably one of the most rapidly growing markets that I've ever seen in the health sector. They project it to be over 16 billion with a B by 2025. People always ask, well, what's driving that growth? Well, what's driving the growth was it was made legal at the federal level at the end of 2018, if it's hemp and if it's less than 0.3% THC. The other thing that's driving it, and I already brought this up, is the growing opioid epidemic. This is just going off the charts. Patients and clinicians alike are looking for alternatives to opioids. So CBD is a molecule found in both hemp and marijuana. Bionan-X comes from hemp, not marijuana, and that's where there's often a lot of confusion. Hemp and marijuana are both part of the cannabis plant, but they're 2 separate plants. They look different. It's short for cannabidiol, CBD is. And if you have used therapeutic oils and doTERRA and maybe done some other alternative medicines, these are popular ingredients in some of these products. It's sold as an over-the-counter product because it's not now a scheduled drug under the federal government. It can be sold over the counter through people that through reputable businesses. Since its launch, since its legality at the end of 2018, it's becoming the biggest focus of research. You're going to start to see a lot of really interesting research coming out about the benefits of CBD. Unlike THC, which is the part of marijuana that gets people high, CBD doesn't have that. CBD can't get you high. Some CBD has THC in it. That's the part that people often worry about. So it's also known in the industry as other things: CBD extract, hemp extract, phytocannabinoid, all kinds of things. But the most common way it's referred to is CBD oil. And you can see there's a whole variety of types out there. And you cannot tell by just looking at the bottle if this is a high-end reputable company or a company that's really brewing it in their garage. CBD is naturally found as an oil. It's on the ends of the flowers. This little resinly sticky stuff is the CBD. So you got to get the CBD off the hemp plant to make, you got to get this resin off the hemp plant and process it to get to CBD that you can use. If you Google CBD, you're going to see all kinds of advertised health benefits. As a medical manufacturer, we can't make any claims. We're too early in the journey of CBD for the research to actually prove that this cures cancer or does X, Y, and Z. And believe me, there's some CBD oil companies out there making phallus claims, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So there are mild side effects of CBD. I haven't really seen any with Bionan-X since I've been here over a year, but there are reported some mild side effects in the literature. If you look at the demographics of who's using CBD, and this was actually done in 2019, and the recent poll says about 14% of Americans already use CBD. And a large percentage of them have either heard of it and support it. So this is becoming mainstream. And over half of the people that were polled, and these are adults, support using it as a replacement for painkillers. And I know a lot of people are doing it because opiates can kill you. And that's what I was afraid of with my wife. And also the other thing that CBD can do is fight anxiety. Someone said the other day, says that the drops that you sell really help me relax and go to sleep at night. The creams really work on local aches and pains. If you ask consumers, what are they using CBD for? There's a lot of reasons people use it, but they mainly use it for pain relief, inflammation, and anxiety. But they're using it for other things too. I've seen people use it for headaches very successfully. Strains of muscles, tight muscles, insomnia, arthritis, nausea, all kinds of things people are using CBD for. And this is a Brightfield Group poll that brought all this information to the forefront. Even the Arthritis Foundation has weighed in and said that CBD has benefits for patients that have arthritis, but they recommend that you buy it from a reputable company that has batch tested it by lot to ensure potency, purity, and it's tested by a third party to give what we call in the industry a certificate of analysis, which is the COA. And we do these things at Bionan-X. Not every CBD company can prove what's in that bottle. We can. They also recommend that if you have some other conditions, you probably should talk about CBD use with your doctor in advance to using it. So where is CBD being used in the healthcare industry? That's a question that's often asked me. Well, primarily, it's used all over the place, but I'm orthopedic related, and orthopedics is about pain and inflammation. And when you talk to physicians or healthcare professionals, such as orthopedists, or podiatrists, or physical therapists, all kinds of people are recommending CBD to help stem the tide of that opioid crisis, and also to be another conservative tool in their bag to treat these musculoskeletal ailments. So how do they typically use it? This is per feedback from doctors that have used it successfully. In orthopedics, for example, think about it this way. Wherever there's an inflammation, I'll call it the itises, quote unquote, or pain, whether it's acute or chronic, all the way and everything in between, and they're using it following sprains and strains, and like my wife, some kind of nerve problem, like a neuropathy. Podiatry has adopted CBD for a whole host of conditions. Again, the itises stick out, plantar fasciitis, which some of you may have had, Achilles tendonitis, sprains and strains, following surgery, even neuromas, people have used CBD successfully. From a pain management point of view, and these doctors are really treating I'll call them the old maids. These are the ones that these patients have exhausted all other opportunities, and the orthopedists or the family practice people said, I can't help this person. Let me go to a specialist, a pain management doctor. And they deal with chronic pain, back ailments, arthritis, and they're dealing a lot with opioid dependent patients. And many of them are adopting CBD as an alternative to opiates. So what's your biggest challenge as a consumer? And this is where I'm going to try and help you understand why Bionan-X is different than many of the CBD oils on the market. It's hard to figure out which one to use because you really don't know what's out there. And there's an assumption in the marketplace that all CBD is created equal. Well, I'm going to flat tell you right now that statement is false. There are many, many companies out there. Why is this statement false? Well, there's over 400 companies, probably growing today, selling CBD. And when you analyze what they sell, there's different types of CBD at different potencies, different levels of purity, which means there's contaminants in there that can be pose negative things to your body. And they're making all kinds of claims. The result of that in the marketplace is there's various levels of effectiveness depending upon the brand. And so consumer perception could be this stuff works great, or it's snake oil. It doesn't do anything. Well, CBD, pure CBD works well, but you don't know what you're getting inside that bottle unless you have a way to, the manufacturer has a way to prove it to you. So why aren't CBDs all created equal? Why not? Well, when you look at all these companies, there's a whole host of companies, and some of these are the big name companies. They're fairly reputable, but their certificate of analysis, some of them are better than others, some of them don't have them. And when you look at some of the certificates of analysis, they'll say that there's X amount of CBD in there, but, and I'll show you in a minute, the FDA's got a hold of some of them, there's no CBD in there at all. So what they're saying in their marketing literature may not be what's actually in the product. And so it's really hard for the consumer to figure out which is a reputable company that has product that actually is going to work. So I mentioned earlier that the variations are quality, claims, potencies, purity, and THC content. And that's important. I want to bring up THC now, but I'm going to bring it up again. You don't want to take it if you have to take any kind of urine test. CBD oils have some level of THC in it. Now, it may not be very much. It's probably not enough to get you intoxicated. But if you take it long enough over a period of time and regularly, the THC will build up in your adipose and in your liver and could trigger a positive urine test. And it's important because some people can lose their jobs over that. As I mentioned earlier, some companies are making some outlandish claims. It'll cure cancer, it'll do all kinds of things. There's no basis for their claims. What it has done is it's raised the concerns with the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And FDA oversees CBD. And if they hear somebody making an outlandish claim, they're going to investigate it. Since the Farm Bill at the end of 2018, there's been 81 warning letters to CBD companies. It's probably bigger than that. I haven't looked lately. And so what they do is they get the product when they find a company that's making outlandish claims or has complaints, and they test the product and they compare it to their marketing materials. What's interesting, these companies that have been tested, many of them, their product, that what's in it does not match what they say is in it on their labels. So it's a little bit of sleight of hand. That's why probably if you've tried CBD and had lesser than stellar results, it may be because it may not be from a reputable company. There may not be as much CBD in there, a whole host of reasons. In fact, this is an FDA notice that happened in the middle of last year for Summit Labs, where there was complaints of the product. As it turned out, there was high levels of lead in the product, causing pain, nausea, and kidney damage. Not a good thing, obviously. But as an unsuspecting consumer, you would know that. Well, this company, they pulled this product, but it really highlights the fact that the FDA is looking for those bad actors, and they're gonna investigate them. Bionan-X Medical is going to take the high road. We're a medical manufacturer. Our parent company is a medical manufacturer. We're adhering to strict quality standards that's not even mandated yet in the CBD industry by the FDA. So really the state of affairs is There's a variety of products from a variety of companies, and the amount of CBD can vary not from just from company to company, but from batch to batch within the same company. And their quality standards can be very low to very high like ours. You just don't know by looking at the label. So the question is, so how do I know which CBD I should buy? It's like, good question.
Yeah, good.
So let me talk a little bit. Let's shift gears now to what Bionan-X is. And this may help you understand how it fits into your care. I mentioned before, we have creams and we have drops. This is called Cool Relief Transdermal Cream. It's a nano amplified, water soluble product. It is not an oil. And that's probably the biggest difference. There's no THC. You rub it on locally where you feel your condition needs some help. When we make the product, we put back terpenes, which is basically Mother Nature's spice kit to help absorb the CBD. It's important in the process of applying the product and getting it into the body. The recipe includes other things like menthol, arnica, lavender to help in the effects of the product. It's a transdermal formulation, not a topical cream. It goes through the skin. Because it's immediately absorbed into the circulation, there's lower risk of side effects compared to opiates and NSAIDs, which are like Advil and Naproxen, and the other over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. We provide it in 3 sizes. This is the 1 ounce cream that's about a month's supply. We have the sample packs, and we have the 5 ounce version of the cream. It's the same product, just in different variations. Serenity Nano Drops uses the same technology. We just create a drop. Again, nano amplified for maximum effect. There's no THC, but there's no alcohol in it either, so you can't get drunk or high off of it. It's a unique blend of orange extract, peppermint, and organic honey, because CBD naturally is a little bitter. And so when you put this in your mouth, we're trying to cut back on the bitterness. But because it's nano, which means they're very small particles, they actually engage our taste buds quicker than any kind of flavoring that I would try to cover it up with. It's water soluble to improve absorption. It bypasses the digestive system. And I'm going to tell you right now, you put a drop of oil under your tongue, it does not absorb. It has to go through your digestive system. With Serenity, because it's water soluble, it actually goes and absorbs into your system immediately. We put those terpenes back into the product, just like we did in the Cool Relief cream. Again, because it's water soluble, there's less risk, and it's not going through the digestive tract, there's less risk of side effects. Most people put it under their tongue, hold it there for 10 or 15 seconds. Some people put it in a glass of water or tea, for example. So why is it different than the rest? I want to explain this to you. I like to say it's a medical grade, and everyone goes, I bring this up to docs. They go, what makes it medical grade, Marko? What makes it medical grade is the potency. Because it's not an oil and it's nano, it penetrates a lot quicker and it gets into the system a lot better than an oil. It's pure. There's no contaminants in here, including no THC. And I'll tell you how we get to that in a minute. We are a medical device professional, and so we adhere to those standards. Our quality standards are very high. And then we can prove from batch to batch, from lot to lot, from product to product, that you're getting the same thing over and over again. There's no variation. And we do that through what I call a track and trace system, and I'll show that to you in a minute. So who is Bionan-X? Well, we're manufactured, the manufacturing facilities in Irvine, and they make the product for us. That's part of the sister companies that we're associated with. So Integrated Healthcare Solutions is part of the group of companies that make up Bionan-X Medical. We have a manufacturing process and strict quality standards. As you can see, it's in clean rooms, a laboratory environment. It's an advanced technology with proprietary processes. This is the machinery that we use to take those oils and make them into the nano water soluble products. So it's a nano amplified isolate. Before we make it into the product, we get it down to what looks like a salt, a fine salt, known as a CBD isolate. It's a cutting edge technology. We use an ultrasound machine to fracture it into these tiny, tiny particles. That alone helps the CBD penetrate the body better and quicker and faster. So again, it's not an oil. So when I always quote to people, what do you know about CBD? I go, I know all about CBD oil. I've tried it. My mother's tried it. Well, I say, we're not an oil, and there's advantages for not being an oil. It's a water-soluble nanoemulsion. That's a lot of words for saying it's not an oil, but just think about it that way. Most competitive CBD companies are oil-based products, and that's the big difference. And as you instinctively know, water and oil do not mix. In fact, CBD oils don't easily absorb into the body. Bionan-X is water soluble. In fact, it's 10 times more absorbable than an oil. There's a study by Nakano that's the basis for our product. And I'll just illustrate it. So on the right, I hope everyone can see this. This is a beaker full of water with a competitive CBD oil in there called Charlotte's Web, very popular one. On the left is a same beaker of water, and this is the Bionan-X water-soluble CBD. Let me play the video. So when I turn on the mixer and try and blend that oil into the water, you already know it's going to happen. It's going to try and mix it, but they're going to be separate. Over here, I'll just pour the Bionan-X in without stirring it, and it immediately just disperses through the water. That just goes to show you how powerful being water soluble is. So what are the benefits of nano water soluble versus oils? Well, let's first start out is one, it's more absorbable, and it makes it more quote unquote bioavailable. What does that mean? That means there's more available for the body to use. We like to say less is more because it's amplified 10 times more than an oil. You need far less CBD to have the same effect. What's the results? It helps maximize the therapeutic effect and its effectiveness, and it helps for more accurate dosing. This is just a little drawing to depict, how Bionan-X nano amplified can penetrate quicker and deeper than a traditional CBD oil. So another thing that makes it unique for Bionan-X and IHS is our chain of custody. We control the process from seed to sale. Our farm is in Kentucky. The farmer there picks the seeds, he plants the seeds, he grows the hemp, then he pulls off the flowers and the buds, and he processes them. He extracts the CBD in a 3-step process. It goes from crude to oil to this crystal isolate. At that point, we test it. We have to test it by federal law for it to cross state lines. It has to be less than 0.3% THC. Ours is 0 at that point. At that point, once it passes the test, it's shipped to our labs in Irvine, and that's where we nano emulsify the product. We test it there. Once it passed the test, we pull out our recipe card. We make the product per the recipe card. We test it again. And once that passes the 3rd test, we bottle it, label it, and box it. So the product was controlled all the way through and tested 3 times. And we prove it by the track and trace system. You can take your smartphone, scan the QR code, and what pops up is this certificate of analysis. It's done by a third party, but it shows everything, shows what's in it, but probably more important, it shows what's not in it. I have a blown up version on another slide. This exceeds what's happening in the CBD industry. We don't have to test it 3 times, and we don't have to do it for every lot, but we do it because we adhere to high quality standards. So It's tested by a third party. And here are the 3 tests at the 3 times. And you can see the lot number goes all the way through and the various things we test for. THC and CBD on all of them, but we also test for solvents, heavy metals, microbes. And you're going to probably ask, why did that one company have lead in it? Well, think about it this way. A plant is in the ground. It pulls everything out of the ground into the plant. Heavy metals, pesticides, bacteria, you name it. And if you don't process it enough, it still remains in your end up product. So that's why we process it all the way down to that crystal isolate. This is a picture of the COA and all the different things we test for. And here are the terpenes we add back in to help the absorbability. And we have a different recipe for every product we make. THC free. This is important. To get THC free, you have to process it 3 times. I mentioned the crude to the oil, and then you get it to this crystal isolate. It is 100% THC free at that point. Nothing but CBD in those crystals. Most competitive CBD companies stop right here. We take it to that step. Why is being THC free so important to the consumer? Well, if you scan the newspapers, you're going to see articles like this where a school bus driver in Salt Lake City was taking Charlotte's Web for a period of time, had to take a random drug screen, failed the THC test, and lost her job. I would feel badly if I recommended a product to somebody and they lost their job because it was the product that I recommended. We also did a study to prove that you could pass a urine test. And basically, we wanted to show that, okay, our COA says there's no THC, but can you pass a urine test? Which we did. We're the only company that's gone the extra mile to prove that there is no CBD and that you can pass a urine test. We enrolled a bunch of patients. They were willing to take the product for 60 days and test at the 30 and 60-day mark. We tested at a very fine level of 20 nanograms per milliliter, which was much tighter than the pre-employment physical or the NFL test set even. We did that for a reason. If you had to take a urine test for a top secret job in the government, they'll test at 20. Well, the results showed something pretty miraculous. No one failed their THC test. And so you can rest assured that our product is 100% THC free. So why are we better than the oil? How are we better than the oils? It really comes down to our level of processing to get pure product and to make sure that the potency is constant and high all the time. Again, we go from the crude, that's called full spectrum in the CBD world, to the oil, which is called broad spectrum. And again, that's where most companies, CBD oil companies, stop. We take it to the isolate, but then we take it 2 steps further. We nano it, and then we water soluble it. So that's why we go the extra mile to ensure that the product that you're getting, you know what's in it. So where should consumers go to buy CBD they can trust? Do they go to the Cheech and Chong store that's brewed it in their garage? Or do you go to Bionan-X? I will tell you this product works. And when I sell, I'm out talking to people all the time. I let the product speak for itself because it really does work. So I'm going to end this presentation on a story, a last story. I started with a story, I'll end it with a story. I was in Tupelo, Mississippi. I was at Robert's Apothecary. It's a natural pharmacy combined with a regular pharmacy. And we went in there and I didn't think it was going to be a very good potential customer. We walk in and they're selling all kinds of CBD oil. They also do opiates and anti-inflammatories. So I walked up and I give my little spiel on nano, water soluble, why it's better, high quality, yada, yada, yada. And the director says, great, I'm going to give it to the owner of the clinic and let him try it. So as I left a bunch of samples. 2 weeks later, I get this ginormous order from Robert's Apothecary. And it turns out that the owner of the clinic who tried it is a retired orthopedic surgeon who had severe rheumatoid arthritis and had to stop practicing and doing surgery. He called back the director and said, take all the other CBD off the shelf that we sell. We're going to only sell Bionan-X. My hands haven't felt this good in years. So it's a great way, it's a great testament to how effective this product is over many of the conventional CBD oils out there. So at this point, I can open it up for questions.
All right, great. Thank you, Mark. I got a question for you. So can you talk more about the full, broad, and isolate a bit more? So you said a lot of manufacturers are selling full and broad. What are the, I guess, what are the benefits then, when you have something like that?
That's a good question, Brian. So full spectrum, they're going to say full spectrum and broad spectrum, you can take advantage of that is what's called the entourage effect. And long before CBD was made legal in the cannabis world, there's been articles written that when you have the natural terpenes, flavonoids, and other things that occur naturally in the plant, along with the CBD, it actually creates a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario where the CBD alone doesn't absorb as well unless you have the terpenes in there. That's called the entourage effect. And many people will say to me, well, Marko, you took your product to an isolate, so therefore you cannot enjoy the entourage effect. Well, all of our products, we put the terpenes back in after we get to a pure CBD without THC. So the only difference between full spectrum and broad spectrum, full is a little less processed and it has more of the naturally occurring terpenes and flavonoids. The broad is processed a little more and has still that in there, but probably less THC, but still has it in there. It's got to be less than 0.3% THC to be legal per the Farm Bill. When you take it to the isolate, there is no THC or anything else in there. But to get the THC out, I have to get it to an isolate, if that makes sense.
Okay, great. That's good. Got a question here in the chat from Nermine. It says, how long does it take for the cream to be effective using once per day?
So and that's a good question. So, and I'll tell you why. We have what's called endocannabinoid receptors in our body that the CBD interacts with. And what I've learned since being here, and as I noted in my first story with my wife, she had a longer, chronic, more severe problem. It took 2 weeks of using it 3 to 4 times a day for it to start taking any effect because it was chronic. It was more long lasting. So people that have more of an acute, something that was sudden, they'll probably notice a more immediate effect. So I'll give you an example. If I'm out there in the yard and I'm doing a lot of overhead work, and I wake up the next morning and my shoulder's really sore, I can put the cream on and I should probably feel something within 15, 20 minutes. But if someone comes to me and says, I've had arthritis for 10 years, they may get some effect, but they're not going to get that dramatic effect immediately because the CBD is creating homeostasis in the body. They need to use it regularly and over a prolonged period of time. If you have a localized area, you can use it one time, but generally what the clinicians recommend is you use it 2 to 3 times a day. In general, once it works, it'll probably last up to about 4 hours. Remember, it's not a pain cream or Novocaine. It is interacting with our body's normal endocannabinoid system. So don't think about it as Novocaine. It's not covering up anything. It's not going to mask your pain. It's actually working with the body to treat the pain. Does that help?
Yeah, let's see. Oh, she had a follow-up question. Where is it selling? And how much does it cost? All right, I can answer that.
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
Let me start by one thing. We're only selling this product to healthcare providers like you all. So Brian, you can take it from there. You cannot buy this on Amazon or eBay or on the open market. It only goes through the healthcare providers because we want to ensure that the healthcare providers have a product that they can trust, right? One that they can go to the bank on, that I know what's in it, I know what's not in it, it's going to be quality, and I would want to recommend that to my customers.
Yeah, so where can you buy it? So we are carrying it at OsteoStrong here in Torrance. And it's one of the reasons why I'm carrying it is just because of the efficacy of this product and the quality. There's too many products out there that are basically made in the garage. You don't know what's in it. And with Bionan-X, because of the COA, Certificate of Authenticity, you know what's in it. And really high quality manufacturers do that on their product. Actually, why don't you talk about, and actually in terms of price, so we sell it for $70 for the cream and then also for the drops themselves. Howard, why don't you, I'm sorry, Mark, why don't you tell them about, I mean, just doing these COA, like how expensive is that? Because a lot of manufacturers don't do it, but that's I hear it's a huge expense.
Well, each COA, so we do it when we make that, I'll tell you this is, I'll hold this up, you probably may not be able to see it, but this is the nano emulsified stuff. So this is, and this is the isolate. Again, it looks like salt. I know you can't see it very well on this camera. This is about $500 worth of pure CBD. So when we get a big jar of this, it's about 1 liter. And it takes a lot of hemp to make a little bit of CBD. We then test it, and the tests are about $700 a test. So for each batch we make, we're testing it 3 times. So we don't just test it once. We test it before it leaves the farm, after we make the nano emulsion, which is the water soluble part, and then after the product. We want to make sure that what's in that bottle is, we know what's in that bottle. We're probably spending over $2,000. But I'll tell you where the cost really comes in, is we're processing it 3 more times than a conventional CBD oil does. Get the isolate, get the nano, get the water, and then we test it 3 times. And the interesting thing is when I'm out talking to chiropractors, whoever wants to buy it, says, so Marko, you're telling me you process it 3 more times and you test it more and it's still the same price or as comparable to a regular oil? I said, yeah, because we own everything from seed to sale. I'm not having to buy it from somebody in Colorado or wherever. There's a company in Colorado that makes a lot of the CBD oils for many of the companies that are selling it. So they don't have any control over the quality. We own the process. I hope that answers your question.
Got a question here from Joanna. Says, I have an essential tremor. Would the drops help calm the tremor? If so, how much would I take and how long before it has an effect?
Well, first and foremost, I can't practice medicine, but I can tell you some stories that I've heard. I don't think it would hurt to try it. You may want to talk to your doctor. But there's a rep of mine who has a patient who is epileptic and has 20 seizures a day, or had 20 seizures a day. They started using the drops 2 times. They were up to 5 drops in the morning and 5 drops at night, and significantly reduced the number of epileptic fits that her son was having. I've heard reported people using it for tremors, Parkinson's. I can't make those claims. I'm not going to sit here and do that. But some of the preclinical research, if you go look at it, will give you some really good information on those possible things, those possible benefits.
Okay,
one of the lines that we don't want to cross as a company, because I don't want the FDA pulling my product off the market, is making medical claims. But because we use far less CBD than the other companies do to get an effect, there's not a downside to trying CBD. I will tell you right now, a lot of people use the drops at night just to help them relax to go to sleep, it helps reduce anxiety, and it really will calm you. It's not going to be like a sleeping pill where it's going to put you to sleep. You're not going to wake up with a hangover or anything like that. CBD has, if you look at the preclinical research, the potential here with CBD is off the charts. That's why I'm such a big advocate. I take it because some of the preclinical works talks about Alzheimer's and dementia and CTE and Parkinson's. And unfortunately, my dad just passed away from Alzheimer's. I'm doing it personally to help maybe prophylactically head that stuff off. But I'm trying to keep up on all the research because it's so exciting. And I'll just let the product speak for it. So try it. It's probably the best thing to do and see how it works. I'd love to hear your feedback too, if it does help.
Yeah, great. And then another follow-up question, is the cream a cure? Which, well, you can't say that. Or will you have to use it all your life 3 to 4 times a day?
So as my wife's story is that once that nerve was under control, she never does anything to it anymore. So again, really, if you look at how CBD works, it's creating homeostasis in the body, which is creating the balance in the body. So to answer your question, unless you have some underlying mechanical problem, I'll give you an example where it wouldn't. You probably have to use it forever as an arthritic knee, if it's because you've got bone on bone. The CBD is not going to go fix bone on bone. You have mechanical rubbing in there. And if you do too much on it, it's going to flare it up. My wife had a neuro problem, a chronic nerve problem. After 4 months, she hasn't used it since on that area. So to answer your question, it probably depends on what it is. I've learned a couple things. The more chronic the problem, the longer it takes to start to take effect. And you have to be very diligent, and you have to just use it on a regime 2 to 3 times a day for the cream. I'll tell you what, some of the, here's an example. I love to tell stories. One of our best customers is an orthopedic oncologist. He is doing amputations for people that have bone tumors. You would understand how anxious you would be prior to having your limb cut off. And so he's using the drops prior to surgery to help the anxiousness, to calm them down. And then through the immediately post-op period, and then once the wounds are healed, he's having them using the cream to help with phantom limb pain. And he's having miraculous results. And his patients absolutely love it. So that's what I call the 1-2 punch. They're using the drops and the cream. And I've got articles. If you guys are interested in articles, I got tons of articles that I can send you. If you said you have an article on this, Brian, you probably can get my contact information from Lillian. I can get you an article if you're interested in it. I just can't make those claims. I just have to let the literature speak as far as what it's being used for.
Yeah. Great, thank you. All right, I'm just going to go through the participants list. Any questions from anybody?
Can I ask questions?
Yep.
When you said you're using it to prevent Alzheimer's, how could that have anything to do with Alzheimer's?
So I'm not using it I can't say it's preventing anything, but I'm telling you, if you look at the preclinical literature, there's literature out there that says CBD has neuroprotective capabilities to it. And so that's probably where, because CBD gets through your whole body if you take it systemically like a drop. We don't know the answer yet. That may not be the case. I'm just personally doing it because the research I see looks very promising. It's by no means is it a cure, but neuroprotection means it's helping how the nerves fire and preventing some of the things that's going on. And if you want to see some of those articles, I could probably dig them up for you. But if you just Google CBD and neuroprotection, you'll find all kinds of articles regarding. And if for those of you that are fairly good on the computer, if you use Google Scholar, you just put those search terms in. You go to Google Scholar. It looks like Google, and it brings you up the research articles themselves. And you'd be fascinated with all the research is being done on things outside the musculoskeletal world. Heart disease, on GERD, all kinds of stuff. So
would that do, like my husband has Alzheimer's,
I don't know. My dad was 6 years into Alzheimer's and it did nothing for him. I think he was too far gone. I think being in the NFL, that one of the biggest things that's going on is called CTE, called chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's from them bumping their head playing football that they get this inflammation on the brain that's causing some of these people to die prematurely. The NFL is looking into the possibility of how something like CBD can be of some benefit, but we don't know. Again, I will just say right at the front, I can't make medical claims, nor will I until the research starts to say it. But I will say you're going to see some amazing things with CBD moving forward now that it's legal at the federal level. The research is just piling up.
Could I ask you one more question about, because you said your wife had
Well, absolutely.
Your wife had neuropathy. Well, I have trigeminal neuropathy, which is I just get it every once in a while. Right. But anyway, it's like on the left side of my face where I'll get these electrical shocks, and it comes and goes. But anyway, would putting the cream on your face or something help that? It seems like the cream would.
I don't know. Try it.
Or
just don't get it in your eye because.
Yeah,
you could do both. You could try both. I'll just say, you don't want to put the cream anywhere where there's near your eye or like under your armpit and your groin because there's menthol in it. It'd be like putting Bengay in your eye. So I have people that have used it for migraines on the back of the neck, and have one last story. So a friend of mine, I was meeting with him and I was telling him about Bionan-X. He goes, Marko, I can't believe it works so well. I said, Ray, just try it. So we went back to the hotel room. I was in Texas. I gave him some samples. He called me on the way home to his house. He goes, I didn't tell you this, but I had such a raging headache. And you told me it could help headaches. After you gave me those samples, I was in my car. I put it on my forehead. And by the time halfway home, my headache was gone. Now, did it cure the headache? I don't know. All I can tell you is he was amazed at the results. So I have people trying it on everything. I've had people use it on eczema. If you read the literature, CBD they talk about the antimicrobial and antiviral effects of CBD, believe it or not. So we don't know everything. All I can tell you is we're going to provide you with a product that's free of contaminants and have a very bioabsorbable CBD in it. So if a CBD is going to have an effect, it's probably going to be this one because it's at a very high quality without any that you have to worry about that there's any contaminants in there. That's what you should go away with this presentation. I'm always talking to people about how they use Bionan-X, and I'm amazed of the different things they use it for and the success stories. I hear success stories every day. So to answer your question, will it help? I don't know. The lady that said her kid had epilepsy, 20 seizures a day, she asked me the same thing. Would it help? I said, I don't know, but it's not going to hurt to try. Just try 5 drops in the morning, at night, and see what happens. And she was amazed. So again, is it curing this? I don't know. We're too early in the game, but I tell you what, it is really exciting. And I love selling a product that actually works. And I always in any sales talk, I said, let the product speak for itself. Here's some samples, try it. And the only thing I will say, if you can't just try it once, you have to be consistent with its use and its application to give it a chance.
Great, thank you. Linda, any questions? Or Marie?
I'm interested in the product. I'm just wondering, when there's damage to the structure of your body, like in my case, I'm missing some tendons and stuff, there's a lot of pain. Can it work on, well, I know it's a medical question. Yeah, I mean, do you think it'd be worth giving it a try on something like that?
I don't know why it wouldn't be worth trying it. Here's another, I'll give you some examples. Here's another story. So I had a guy come to me, a guy that I've known for years. He goes, Marko, do you think that CBD stuff that you sell will work? Because I've got a bad arthritis and I can't put any weight on it. And I need to get back. I need to go to this event. I said, yeah, CBD will definitely help. Well, I'll go to the store and get some at the grocery store. I said, Bill, no, you need this. So I met him. I gave him the product. I'm getting texts from him on a hour by hour basis of how this product is helping him. So, and he has a totally trashed knee, arthritic, bone on bone. I said, Bill, it's not going to cover up your pain. It's not going to cure your arthritis, but assuming you don't aggravate it, you should be doing better, which he did. He's the biggest advocate of this, and he was the biggest naysayer. So he was very consistent with his treatment, drops 3 times a day, cream 3 times a day, and he uses it whenever his knee flares up, because it's not going to cure his arthritis. Once you lose the articular cartilage or you lose your natural tissue, it's not going to put it back. You can't fix what Mother Nature started with, right? But it can definitely help things get better.
Okay, I understand that. Thank you very much. I appreciate the information.
Uh-huh. Any other questions or comments? Do you have any feedback for me? Was this helpful? I hope it was provided you with some information.
Yeah, really, really helpful. Actually, so why isn't there enough research on this from a medical standpoint? So when was it declassified from a class 1?
Basically 2019. So it's we've only been doing research for a little over a year, clinical research. There are some clinical research papers out there that have showed, just like my wife, that have documented the fact by using CBD, you can decrease opioid use on large groups of patients. So I have a lot of research. We just can't make claims yet because the FDA hasn't put CBD into a class yet. It's not a drug. It's not a food. It's not a supplement. But at some point, they're going to classify the CBD. And what you're going to see is these low-end, poor quality Cheech and Chong garage brew companies that don't have high quality standards and can't maintain them, they're going to go away. And so our strategy is simple. We're going to come up with the best, highest quality product so that when they do get their teeth into it, then we'll be one of the few companies that will remain selling product in the marketplace. Because these companies come and go right now. Their boxes all look really good. You just don't know what's in the box.
All right, great. Any more questions? No more questions. Oh, Mona. Yeah.
I used the CBD one time to sleep, and the first night I slept really well and had nice dreams. I didn't like the taste of it, but I did it the next time. I did it about a week later, and I didn't sleep very well, so I don't know. I think it just depends on.
Well, you have to use it. You need to use it every night. You got to get on a regime, just like the doctor says, take this pill once a day. You got to do it each time. Your body has to get used to it, just like any other thing you put in your body. It's not like I'm just going to do it one time here and one time there. So I have people that, yeah.
Okay.
So I would start with 5 drops under your tongue with the Serenity drops, and just do it every night, and just allow it to work. If you take too much, you don't want to take too much. I mean, you should never go over 10 drops. Now, you're not going to overdose, but there's what's called a biphasic effect in the CBD world. If you take way much, you won't get relaxed. You'll get a little amped up. And what we do is Serenity, we put terpenes in there to help that also have relaxing capabilities in them also. The reason we call it Serenity is because it has an anti-anxiety kind of product.
If you did it daily, wouldn't that build up in your system or something? Is that healthy?
Nope. Yeah, it's not an oil. It's not an oil. You got to remember, oils build up in your system, and that's why it's different. You put it in, it goes into your system, and then it goes out. So there's no dependency on it. Your body doesn't get dependent like opiates. And so people are using, I take like 160 milligrams of CBD a day. And I have been. So I guess a side effect is I feel better. I need less sleep because I'm more focused. I have more energy. My aches and pains are less. Those are good side effects in my mind. Yeah, they're anecdotal, but I'm a 63-year-old man that, just like most 63-year-olds, wake up, first few steps are a little dicey. I don't have that much anymore. I'd be lying to you if I don't get sore here and there because I'm active, but at the same time, I use Bionan-X pretty regularly because I'm such a believer in the product.
Right. All right. So yeah, so if anybody is interested in the product, we do carry it at OsteoStrong. You can talk to any one of our coaches there. But also Lillian is probably the expert at it at the OsteoStrong right now. So if you have more questions, definitely contact Lillian, and she can help answer some of the questions that you have. All right.
And
well, thank you very much.
Lillian has access to those articles as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Marko, and everybody have a great night. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for your time.
You.
I appreciate your time and your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.